Hey everyone, it's me, LB, back for another episode of the Sit Down with LB. Hopefully, this microphone is working. Happy Father's Day to all. Hello everyone, it's me. I'm back again. Can you hear me? That is the Happy Father's Day to everyone there. Yes. And I am here. Happy to be here another day. Sorry we were having some technical difficulties that we're trying to figure out. But I think for the most part, let's see. If can you hear me? Hello Shama, I see you. Shama. There you go. And so I'm trying to let's see. Everybody okay, Selena Perriman. Yes, you can hear me. Okay, let's see. I think we're good. So welcome. I am happy to be here today. It's been I see people already, Gina Marks and Leon Brown and Christopher Brooks, Hannah Waltman, Selena Perryman. Thank you all for stopping by for another episode of the Sit Down with LB. I'm having a good time doing this. Thank you, Mary and George. I just love you too. Lupita, Margaret Jones, everyone, thank you for stopping by. It's been a fun week for me. I've been at home and trying to recover, as I said before, from this what do you call it? I had arthroscopic knee surgery a couple weeks ago, and so I'm on the mend. Hello, OC, always supporting me. I thank you. I appreciate it. And so it's Father's Day, and I am really blessed to be a father of two kids. I have a 9-year-old autistic son named Caleb, who I love dearly, and my princess Zoe is 8 years old. So both of them keep me invigorated. And so today I've just been hanging out and relaxing, playing games, putting together puzzles, playing Jenga, doing all that stuff with the wife and the kids. So I've had a good time today. And so I want to send a shout out to all of the fathers out there. Happy Father's Day. And for those of you who have lost fathers, I hope you have special memories of them on this day. Some of my friends I know in the last year have lost their fathers, and so I send a special shout out to them because I know it's a difficult day. But I send you my solidarity, my love and support, and hope you guys can make it through it okay. Today I am joined also my buddy Dexter. He's I'm learning a lot from Dexter. You know, he's the one who taught me how to be a show host. And so Alan Savada, Larry Flanoy, oh my gosh, look at all these people in here. I understand why, because we have someone that I call Hollywood, someone who is considered opera's best dressed man.
Right, come on, man, come on.
The athlete, the scholar, the model, the musician. This is my boy. My boy Soloman Howard is here on the Sit Down with LB. What's up, Solomon?
What's good, fam? How you doing, brother?
Man, I can't call it. I'm just trying to be like you. I'm just trying to be somebody.
You got it, brother. You got it.
I mean, did you look at you?
Oh, wait a minute. And the words of
do y'all see
Larry
this?
Brownlee, you got jokes. He got jokes. Man. He got jokes.
Do you see this guy? Man. I mean, he's at home hanging out, but look.
Hey, this is how I like to do it, man. You know.
Oh my gosh, man, how you doing, really?
Man, these are pajama clothes for me, man. I'm going to sleep after this. I'm good, brother. I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. Where are you now?
We're in right outside of Chicago in Bloomingdale, Illinois.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And
so that's why I
have you been out
the wrong time earlier, because I'm thinking Central Time. So I post 6. But I'm from DC, so I said Eastern. I'm like, man. So thanks for whipping me up real good like a big brother does, man.
Yeah, Alan Savada says Soloman Howard with exclamation points. You know, everybody has that reaction when they see you. They're like, Solomon, oh my gosh, you know. Right. You're the guy that, you know, all of us tenors were like, man, I hate that guy. I love him. I love him and I hate him because he's like 6'18".
6'8".
You know, he's well dressed.
That's hilarious, man.
He's handsome, talented. I'm like, man, the tenors, we're like, gosh, that guy Solomon, wow, he just makes us all look so bad. But no, man, you know what I'm saying. I'm happy to have you here, my brother.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Oh man,
I remember first meeting you back in 2008. Actually, I was a student at Manhattan School of Music, and
okay,
you were, I forget what you were performing, but you were down in the cafeteria, and I heard about you,
okay,
heard about you, and my mentor April Haynes, she said, wherever you are, tomorrow you need to cancel that. You need to be standing on the side of the stage to listen to that brother right there, and so I made it out, and the rest was history, man.
to see how bad he messes up,
Nah,
right?
nah.
No, I love April. I love April. She's a sweetie pie, and oh man, no, it's now we've known each other. That's like 12 years, and man, you are doing so well, singing all over the place, and so I'm really, really happy for your success.
Thanks, bro.
Tell me about DC. You said you grew up in DC.
Yeah.
Tell me about your musical journey from the beginning.
Wow. So I was born into a musical family. My mother's parents were musicians. My grandfather actually opened up for B.B. King for years as a blues guitarist, and then later,
Oh,
and then I later became a minister. So this was, the early days of the great maestro B.B. King. God rest his soul. God rest my grandfather's soul as well. But this was prior to becoming a minister. So my mom's parents are musicians. My father's parents are musicians, singers. My mom and her sisters were a gospel group. My father, his brother's a gospel group. That's how my parents met on a concert they were doing together. And so I grew up in church, grew up singing gospel music. And I still like to get down with it whenever we have a chance. So yeah, I mean those were the early days, man. In DC, going from church to church. Not only are my parents musicians, but everybody's ministers. So in church
okay.
all the time. So
So
go ahead.
go ahead.
So
Now
just
you said
traveling around church to church, performing or ministering, as we like to respectfully call it, ministering. And so that was my early start, ministering in the church as a musician, and then WPA, Children of the Gospel. That's when I started getting into classical music, Metropolitan Baptist Church in the early days. So yeah, and I went to Morgan State University, Manhattan School of Music, and that's where it started. Manhattan School, all
so.
opera, brother.
Well, you said gospel.
Hmm.
So, do you remember some of the people that you followed back in the day? Some of the people that were big. Now, you're younger than I am, and I remember the people that really influenced me in the most positive way. I was crazy about the group Commissioned. I was like
Absolutely.
crazy about them. I was crazy about the Whiners were cool.
Hmm.
No disrespect. The Whiners were okay, but I was like crazy about Commission Take Six. I was like, do you know who Alvin Chia
Of
is
course,
from
man.
Take Six?
Of
The
course. Yeah,
bass?
I've actually talked to him a few times. So yeah,
Oh,
he's out of shoot, Take Six. They're all out of Oakwood University, and a big brother figure, Lloyd Mallory, introduced me to Alvin Chia. Yeah, man. So had a chance to feel like a kid when talking to another bass, man.
I
Yeah.
I remember Take Six when I had their first album, Gold
Hmm.
Mine. I remember going to. Now I grew up in the Kojic Church,
Hmm.
Church of God in Christ, and I remember going to a convention, and it took about 14 hours to get there. And before I got on the bus, a day before I bought that tape, I listened to that tape of Gold Mine the entire way there and the entire way back, and probably every day for a year. I
Wow.
know that album inside out, and I am a huge fan of Take Six. And so, of
Absolutely.
course, they were part of my musical influence. But him singing bass, and what other basses were you influenced by from the gospel side, or was there anyone?
Man, it was well, let's see, Whitley Phipps. He was more of a bass baritone.
Oh, Yeah, I love Whitley
Yeah,
Phipps.
yeah. So he was one, but there weren't a lot of other than the quartet music, which that was my
Yeah,
father's side. My father
yeah,
actually, he has quite a range. He would sing all of the lower stuff when singing harmony with his brothers, but then he would come out and lead songs like "Walk Around Heaven," which he's singing in his head voice,
yeah.
and it's like pops. But he's a tenor, but just had that low range, man. Uh,
Wh-
so listening to him, I mean, it was crazy. But outside of Take Six, I kind of gravitated towards them as far as for the lower register. But then most of us, well, I won't say that because you don't struggle with this problem. You actually sing really high. Most bases, man, we because it's not a lot for us in gospel music. Shout out to my one of my Morgan State classmates, Anthony Brown, who actually will
hmm
write. He has a group, Anthony Brown and Group Therapy. They're out of he's
I love
they're out
them.
of Baltimore. We all most of us went to Morgan together. We were in the choir together, and he would use 4-part harmony. So he would, because he's actually a bass baritone. We sang in the same section.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
he would often write songs that included the bass voice, and a few times I went and sang with him. But shout out to him. But it wasn't a lot, so we would always sing like we just stretch our voice. So that's where I get a little bit of that that different sound in gospel, totally different from my classical sound.
Well, let me ask you this. You're talking about your dad has this amazing
Right.
range, but even, I can talk about in Shy Ma and Larry aren't here from Chicago. When we did this, we did a concert at Lyric Opera Chicago for the community,
Uh-huh.
and you sang Stevie Wonder.
Oh yeah.
And you were singing higher than I sing. I was like, man, what in the world is going
Hey
on? I
man,
mean, Solomon has a bigger range than I
man,
do.
whatever, brother. I'm glad you said Stevie Wonder took it to the secular so I could take a sip of this drink, man. Mm.
Of course, man, have yourself a drink. It's
It's
Father's
Father's
Day. You
Day. I'm
just need to.
celebrating being a father, man. And
Oh
shout out to
man.
my baby girl, Ayana Howard. She just graduated high school 2 weeks ago and is on her way to college. Well, actually, it's going to be online because most universities aren't having classes in person this coming fall. But yeah, man. That Stevie Wonder thing, man. It was. I remember I got a chance to work with him with WPA at the Kennedy Center. He was there for a
Hmm.
concert, and I got a chance to be on stage with him. Amazing musician, brother. I mean, just an
Oh
amazing
man.
person, man. A humanitarian with his music, with what he's giving back to the community. It's crazy, brother.
He's one of the great. Uh, a lot of people, great musicians. I want to say a lot of people don't realize this, but Stevie Wonder actually plays several instruments, not
Yeah.
only just piano
Uh-huh.
and not only harmonica. Apparently, he plays the drums pretty
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
and he plays other things as well. Do you know that about him?
Yeah, there are a few albums where he played everything on the album in his early days, and then he's also credited with creating a lot of the sounds and what we call in church keyboards, but what others
Mm-hmm.
call synthesizers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's credited with creating a lot of those sounds. Just his ear and saying, this is what I'm thinking. This is the sound that I'm looking for, and let's put something together with as he Korg, Yamaha. I mean, so whatever people are using, it probably can be traced back to Stevie Wonder.
And yeah, Stevie Wonder, of course, loved the guy. And I'm looking at some of these comments, and our boy just came into the room. You
Which
know who I'm talking
the
about?
Big Mo, I see
The
my
Big
two
Mo.
brothers, Big Mo. That's a mentor, right? That's a
And
big brother
so
right there, man.
talk about the mentors as a base and the people that influenced you or the people that you watched. I know you've mentioned Morris a lot in your life, and just talk about your relationship with him, if you
No,
would.
crazy, man. Like I was at when we were still at Morgan State University. This was wow, man. It had to be at least 2006, probably earlier than that. Wow. Um, So we're doing Beethoven 9 down at Catholic University, and this car pulls up, and it's it's a Lincoln Continental, and I mean it's
Uh-oh.
sitting kind of low. I'm like, yo. So he gets out, like climbs out like Michael Clark Duncan. Uh, he gets out, man, and I'm like, yo, who's this cat? Like, they got
VIP,
it's like the
right?
football squad coming in town, right? And I play football, so I'm like, all right, so where the game at? You got your cleats? He gets out, shakes off, the thing he does, shakes off, shrugs his shoulders, walks in, like, what's up, dog? I'm like, all right, cool, man. So they say he's the soloist. I'm like, wow, okay. All right, let me step.
Who is this
Yeah,
guy,
who's this guy? Let me
right?
step my game up. Let me step my game up. So, we go in, the choir is singing, and he turns around because I'm section leader by this point, and he turns around. He's like, "Okay, I hear you. I hear you." This is what he's saying. Hey, we're being cool, man. We're going slang, every once in a while. So this is, him talking. Okay, I see you, big. I see you, dog. So he opens up. Oh, Freud. And I'm like, yo, this cat. So
Can
this
sing.
cat can sing. So I go up to him afterwards. I'm like, Mr. Robinson, I come from the church, raised, anyone's older than you, they Mr. Man, Miss, whatever. So I'm like, Mr. Robinson, I want to do what you do one day. And he was like, with a voice like that, you should. So
Oh,
yeah,
see how that
he
worked out?
so we chopped it up for a little bit, and he told me, if you ever have any questions, here's my number, here's my email, hit me up, no problem, and I got you, whatever it is. And from then on until this day, I mean, some of the stuff he texts, I'm like, yo, I'm glad I was the only one in the room when I opened this one. Nah, I'm just joking. You know how he is, bro. But till this day, man, that
Yeah.
dude holds me down, man. So I'm very appreciative. And he walked me through. I remember having struggles in my voice lesson. When I found out after Morgan, who I was going to study with at Manhattan School, it was great because Morse also studied with him. So he knew his style of
Hmm.
teaching. So he gave me a heads up. There's some things, if you aren't, if you don't quite understand what he's saying, this is what he's going for. This is what he means.
Right.
He'll draw diagrams for you. So he gave me, like the heads. It was like a scouting report. He gave it to me. And
Right.
whenever I would have difficulties in the practice room, in the rehearsal, in the voice lesson or the studio, I would call him. He was like, "Bruh, how would you do it? You're trying to bench press, 415 or 405. You work your way up to it. So take the practice room just like you would do with your routes, with your bench press, like your voice lesson. That's your practice room. That's your safe haven.
Right.
So go in and work. So it's like trust yourself and be okay with messing up there. Just don't do it on the stage.
Hmm.
So yeah, I learned a lot from them, man, and that was great because I was actually the first. There's another brother, Frank Mitchell, and I cannot ever forget Kevin Short, one of
I was
Morse's
gonna
frat
say
brothers, man,
Morgan.
and that
That's
Morgan
what I'm
connection.
saying.
I remember doing Messiah for one of our Christmas concerts. We were doing Messiah, and I did the bass solos in Messiah. And Kevin Short heard about me, came to the concert, stood backstage just to check me out. Then always,
Love
yeah,
Kevin.
always, man, always offered words of advice, wisdom, and made sure that he was there if I ever had any questions. So the two of them, and that was amazing for me because I didn't see a lot of African Americans in the business,
Hmm.
and not a lot of African American bases. I just didn't know them because I didn't have I didn't come from an opera background. So to go into the studies at
Hmm.
Manhattan School already knowing two professional African American bases,
Successful ones.
successful African American
Hmm.
bases, that meant a lot to me. And then always having them whenever I needed to, reach out with any questions, man.
So somebody asked the question, which frat? And I always tell Morris, they got the right year. You know, They're, he and Kevin are Omegas, and they okay.
Mm,
They're
mm.
okay. He says there's only one, but thank you for saying that because I was going to say there is only one, and that's Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. But they are members of Omega, and so we'll stop right there, Leon Brown. So no, anyway, I'm just playing.
Wow, bro.
One of the things I wanted to say. Now we're talking about true mentorship,
Hmm.
and we're talking about like people that were there for you and people that wanted to see you succeed. So let me ask you this: yourself, when you think about mentorship and when you think about these young bases that are coming up that look up to you, what is your attitude towards them, and how do you try to offer yourself to be a mentor for them?
Wow. So I do the same that was done for me in church, in college. People have always um, made themselves available to talk. I mean, even sometimes when it was, financially, when I needed help. So I do the same, and I let them know that obviously there are things that I'm going through. I mean, same thing I do with my younger brothers. There are things that I'm going through, things that I've already been through, mistakes that I've already made, so that you don't have to make those mistakes. So I try
Hmm.
and be truthful, be upfront, and offer the same support that I received growing up, and then also growing into my profession. It's never something where I want to. I don't know if it's the voice type or what it is. Where we're usually super laid back, and it's never something that I want to. I want to compete. I never liked competing with singing. I just want to give of the gift that I have, and I respect the fact that other people have gifts as well, and they have the right to give and fulfill their purpose. So I try to make sure that I'm always open, giving, sharing your knowledge, very supportive, showing up if other bases are singing and I'm in the area, I'm free. Let's go and support them. It's a community effort, so that's how I feel with being in mentorship programs and just offering advice to younger singers.
Oh, that's great. Now I want to give a shout out to some of the people that are on here. Angela Renee Simpson is here.
Oh, yes.
Alicia Lola Jones is here.
Alicia.
My friend Jan Koretsky from Bratislava. I look
Yeah.
forward. I hope our concert is going to still happen in October because I'm ready to come and sing. But so many people here that are on here, and yes, Keebler Holly is on here. Gina Marks, of course, we said before. She has a question. What made you want to be an opera singer? What was it that made you say, "I want to do this"?
Well, for me, there was an uncertainty early on, but what helped me decide, I fell in love. I was introduced to classical music pretty early on, and like I said, with Children of the Gospel at Washington Performing Arts, at Metropolitan Baptist Church, where my godfather was minister of music. We did such a wide variety of sacred music. So that, falling in love. Then traveling with Morgan State University Choir. I was still unsure.
Tremendous legacy.
Tremendous legacy
Dr.
under
Nathan Carter,
Dr. Nathan
yes.
Carter. So I was still not certain about it. It wasn't until working with Bobby McFerrin and Wynton
Mm.
Marsalis.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
at Morgan State, we did my first tour. The choir, we toured the world. We did at least 2 international trips every year, performing with just about every major symphony orchestra worldwide.
Hmm.
So, my first tour with Morgan, we went to Prague. I'm sorry, we went to Paris and Toulouse with Wynton Marsalis, Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra, and Maestro Kirk Mazur. And then after that, I was working with Bobby McFerrin, him conducting, or doing on the first half, he would do improv with Bobby. Then the second half would be conducting a major work. And he was, this particular concert, the first concert with him was Beethoven 9. And, so working with these two musicians and seeing people that I always knew for jazz, but then
Hmm.
finding out, obviously, Bobby McFerrin's father was an opera singer,
Hmm.
the first
Hmm.
African American male to sing at the Metropolitan Opera.
Hmm.
Then finding out Bobby McFerrin was a conductor. So I saw something that reflect. It was a reflection of me, someone who grew up and had ability in another style of music or other styles of music. With
Mm-hmm.
Wynton and Bobby both having um, amazing jazz careers, but also knowing Wynton Marsalis playing classical trumpet.
Mm-hmm.
Spending his early years training specifically in classical music. So I saw the fact that these are two African American men that were equally as gifted in classical music and jazz. And so it said something to me. It said that you can go into this and still, because I'm like, what if I go into this field and I'm unable to sing gospel music ever again, or would I lose that part of me? And working with them, it was reassurance that you can do this. It's possible. So that's what helped me decide. And also, Moore's telling me like, dog, I give you 5 years and you better be on the stage. But that's what helped me get into classical music, and specifically opera. And I don't regret it at all. I still play, my percussion. I still, as we talked earlier, singing the Stevie Wonder. I still sing other styles of music, but I'm happy to add, that I'm an opera singer, full time opera singer.
Well, you're a full time opera
Yeah.
singer, but when we were in Chicago, we're like, okay, we're going to do this concert, and you had a whole percussion section. Now let me ask you this:
Hey, bro, it's not
you travel with the now. Let me
it's not too
because
far. It's always gonna be
so
close.
is this the only instrument? I mean, you're a
Yeah.
percussionist, but do you play other instruments as well?
Well, I started out. I haven't played. We talked about this the other day. Um, I I started off. Guitar was my first instrument, and I haven't
Oh,
played
you did tell me
guitar
that.
since I was a kid, and it was my grandfather was my teacher because that's all we could afford at the time. So my grandfather, my mom's dad, was my teacher, and he eventually had gotten to the point where he couldn't play anymore. So stopped playing, and that was like the end of my lessons. He was going through Alzheimer's, so it was kind of hard to study. So I didn't, I had no lessons anymore. And then I tried to pick it back up, and it was just like by the time I tried to pick it back up, my ear was so much further, more advanced than what my fingers could do. So I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
nah, man, this is for the birds. I'm not doing this. I played
Exactly.
saxophone in marching band, and yeah, that's it, man. But I would not pull the saxophone out ever again. I mean, I know too many greats, man, to ever try and like embarrass myself. So I stick to percussion. I've been playing since a kid, and I love it, man. I love it.
But you play percussion and set. Someone just said Solomon's a great drummer.
Yeah, I mean, I played drums, and I played in church, and then played for Morgan State's choir as we toured. Um, so yeah, I mean, I played drum set as well.
Oh, man, you're just multi-talented. Alicia Jones says, "Tell him about being a boy soprano."
Oh, it was, hey, my name is Soloman Howard. That's all it was growing up, man. Um, that's crazy. But even Alicia knows we had it at Metropolitan. She wasn't a member of Metropolitan, but we were all fellowship there from time to time. There was a gospel go-go band. Go-go music is, it's
Huge
yes, and it's
in the
it's grown
DMV.
homegrown in DC. Chuck Brown, the godfather of go-go, created his own genre, and it has its roots in Latin percussion. When he first started out, he had a Latin percussionist. But either way, so go-go music, I implore everyone to take an opportunity to listen to a band, backyard band. That's one of my favorites. A lot of my friends play in that band, but we had a gospel go-go band, and so this band, I had to sing all the high stuff in the band. So I'm singing
Oh my
head voice,
gosh.
like some of it chest, but singing head voice. Uh, like entire gig, entire performance. But yeah, like my voice, it changed. Actually, started changing when I was 11. So I had an early drop, but I had a really high voice. So singing soprano, all the way competing with some of the actual real sopranos over there, man. Yeah, I would have given you a run for your money back in the day, brother. But those days are gone.
So you're saying, of course, I know that there's a really big, strong tradition of gospel in the DMV, as they call it, in that area.
Absolutely.
When you think about gospel, though, people say it's either Detroit or Chicago or the DMV.
Yeah.
In your opinion, who wins?
Come on, man. I got to stick with home. I got to stick with home.
You got to stick with home, but you can also be honest, too.
I went to church with Richard Smallwood, man.
Okay, I understand that.
I gotta stick with home, but everybody brings a different flavor, man. So that that Chicago choir sound, man. That Chicago snare. I mean, everybody brings it.
Chicago.
Everybody brings a different flavor, and Detroit. I mean, a lot of the artists that we love. So I was a Commission fan. Growing up, my mom's brothers had introduced us. My mom's older brother, Uncle Babe, as we called him, Warren Flood. He was DC's best gospel drummer back in the 80s and the 70s, 80s, early 90s. He was a Winans guy, and then the younger brother was a Commission guy. So it was like a generational thing.
Yeah.
And so, I listened to both of them, and, the Commission, Detroit has a lot of legends, the Clark sisters, a lot of greats coming out of Detroit. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm gonna stick with home. But
someone said Houston. I don't know. Houston doesn't have a big. Yolanda Adams is from Houston, isn't she?
Yeah.
A couple other people, but one of the things. Okay, the Winans. Okay, if it's a competition between the Winans and Commission, if you have to pick one or the other, who do you pick? For you?
For me?
For me,
it's
not even close.
Dang, man. I'm a Commission.
For me, it's not even close. It's commissioned.
Guy. I'm a Commission guy because that's who we listen to the most. But the Winans, Marvin, man, he wrote some beautiful music, man. So
he's a pioneer.
But honestly, I just listen to Commission more.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost there is no Commission. Yeah, Kirk Franklin is from Texas too. There's almost no more no Commission song I don't know. So I'm a junkie like that. So I may be a little bit biased.
Right, and then out of Commission, Fred Hammond had came out and had an amazing solo career.
Marvin Sapp
as well.
Marvin Sapp as well. So Commission, and if you think of any R&B group today, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, every single one of them would say, look,
Commission.
It was Commission that influenced them heavily.
Yeah.
It might be a generational thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that you're known for is your style.
Okay.
Will you talk to me about your style? And I wanted to ask you, here's a question. You can go ahead and talk about your style, but I want to ask you this question. It's one of the things that you really focus on in your professional life. Is that correct?
Yes.
Or is it something that just kind of comes from a passion that you loved, style and clothes? And talk to me about that.
It's both. I grew up really close. So the closest sibling to me, age-wise, that was in the house, I have an older sister on my father's side, but we didn't grow up in the same house. So the closest sibling in the house was 6 years younger than me, my sister Princess, and so it was a lot of time, spending with my grandparents, as far as someone to entertain me or just having conversation with, and I spent a lot of time with the older generation in general. So this is just how they dressed. My granddad or my godparents, they put on, slacks to go to the grocery store, or if you're in New York, to go to the market. Um, right, the bodega. They put on slacks to do that. So that was what I saw. And I always gravitated. My father modeled as well. My biological father, I have a stepdad who raised me. My biological father modeled, and so I always saw suits, and I always just gravitated um, more towards that type of haberdashery. So that was my thing. Um, and it goes into my profession. A lot of them that I grew up in church, and my godparents, they were professional people. As far as uh, you know, my godmother worked in politics, so she dressed, you know, what she
Mm-hmm.
said presentably all the time, and so this is where I feel comfortable. But it was something from a kid that I saw, and what I gravitated towards. It's easier for me to put a suit, a tie,
Mm-hmm.
the right shoes, and some no-show socks when appropriate. It's easier for me to put that on, and a hat. I'm known for hats as well. Than it is to put jeans and sneakers on. It's like when I have to do that, it takes a little more time to put the right thing on. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I always tell people, like whatever it is that makes you comfortable, do that and just do it. Just give it your best. So if it is, sneakers, like I'm a Jordan sneaker guy, so get the freshest
Mm-hmm.
Jordans. You know, but yeah, so this is who I am, and so when I try to be myself, at all times, I've been fortunate that people have asked, me to style them, people trusting my my opinion, but I still try not to enforce it. Try and find a way to make them comfortable, because
Right.
at the end of the day, I'm not buying your stuff for you. So definitely don't
Exactly.
ask me that, because I'm not gonna do it. I'm not buying it for you, and when you wake up, it's not necessarily you're asking me. I don't give my opinion when it's not asked. You didn't go to the
Right.
store and buy something and then ask, hey, I wonder what Solomon would and even if that's what you thought, like it's your wardrobe, so be comfortable, be you. Just give it your best. Whatever it is.
Lee Anthony Gibbs asked the question, who was your style influenced by?
My brother, Lee Anthony Gibbs. We were at Morgan together, and he's a great photographer. Great. He's a smart person in general, but we
Mm-hmm.
were also roommates. Room 112. We can talk about that story offline.
Uh-oh.
No, we're not going to talk about it right now. I brought it up, but
Don't get in
no,
trouble.
no,
Don't
no,
get
no,
in
no, no,
trouble.
no, no. It was all clean. It was all clean. All clean. But Lee Anthony Gibbs, that's my brother from another mother, as we say. My style influence, man, was early on, honestly, was my grandfather, my mom's dad. I would see him come down on Sunday morning with a new suit, whether he got it from a thrift store or consignment shop, whatever you want to call it. Um, it's Sunday morning. He's a pastor, and he always went to church, like and he, like, dressed immaculate. It was
Mm-hmm.
always amazing what he had on, and just seeing how he put things together. My grandfather wore hats. Um, I called him Grandpa. Grandpa wore hats. Grandpa had socks that matched his tie, or socks that matched his shirt, and so that was my early influence. And then my dad, my Isaac Howard, being a model and seeing the things that he had. Those were my early influences, and then later on it became Ralph Lauren. So I'm still looking to get that deal, because right,
That
that
endorsement.
endorsement, man. Like I'm an opera singer, riding horses, playing polo. I'm like, Ralph, come
All
on, man.
right.
I could wear stuff from your entire line, your entire catalog. So yeah,
Let me ask you this. If you were to be honest with all of us right now and listen up for all of you who are those fanatics, how many pairs of shoes would you say that you have right now?
you really gonna ask me that, brother? Wow, man. Let's see. It's at least
Here we go. Dress shoes. Just dress shoes.
man, I can't count, brother. I have stuff in the storage unit because it can't fit in the house here. Um, and I take care of everything.
There you
And I
go.
have a thing about giving things. Like I give a lot away, but I have this thing about giving away. I can't give away something that's old because at that point, it's no good to me or it's trash. I have to give
Hmm.
something away that I haven't worn it for a little while, but it's still in great condition because I don't want to give anyone something or that
Right.
that basically I'm not using anymore. Um, Man, it's a lot. And then I'm getting a lot made now. I'm also
Right.
designing things myself. So yeah.
Well, we've talked about that, and we've talked about, for me, it is just impossible. And I'm not even talking about my COVID eating because I can barely fit into this Lacoste shirt I have
Oh
on.
wow. Oh
Okay,
yeah. Let's talk
but I'm
about
just
let's talk
saying.
about you in Wimbledon. Come on, man.
I see you got jokes, but no, I mean seriously, it's one of those things that it's really hard for me. And OC asks you what shoe size do you wear? Because I think he's trying to get a couple pairs,
I, I
but
wear
it's really hard
I
for
wear
me.
my shoe size. I wear my shoe size.
The hard thing for me is that I can't buy off the rack. I'm like 5'5", and they just don't make 5'5" and a half. I'll claim my half because I'll claim my half. It's hard for me to buy off the rack, and so because we're black men, we talk about, of course, the things we deal with and our point of view from being black people, specifically in the world, but also this business. And Kevin says heavy top spin. Yes, Kevin, but it's one of these things that I feel like
Wait a minute, is that
we're
Kevin
in the
Miller?
company. Yeah, Kevin Miller. Yes, the legend. Let's just get off subject really quickly. Kevin Miller hits these angles when I play him in tennis. It's not even fair. I mean, I just had knee surgery, and it was probably because I was trying to chase down one of his balls. And so I just wanted to put that out there in the atmosphere. So if you see Kevin Miller somewhere, okay, you know why I had this knee surgery, but
Kevin Miller. That's family, man. That's family.
well, somebody said I'm very dapper, but it's one of these things that I actually have made a commitment
Hmm.
to the way I look, especially professionally, that I have made an investment in myself. Do you look at that when you're dressing yourself as a representation of who you are and how people should view you, especially when you're amongst a lot of times people that are not black that are probably not judging you, but wondering what it is you do?
Yes, I mean I'm always conscious of, or at least try to be conscious at all times of how I represent myself. This is not something that I'm going to put on to impress you because
Mm-hmm.
I'm at home right now
Mm-hmm.
and I still dress up, or I'm with my family and I still put on a hat, so it's not to impress the general public. This is really who I am.
Who you
This is
are.
who I am. So I'm gonna be true to me. Um,
Oh, come on now.
absolutely.
But you will bring it when you're like, okay, I see we're getting dressed
I
up.
mean,
I'm gonna really
if
bring it.
Larry
Come on
Brownlee
now.
said he was gonna be like he's coming through, then I might have to go in the back of the closet and pull out I might have to pull out the special edition. Um,
Yeah. Well,
but yeah,
that's just the way you are. But you're cognizant. You're aware of the fact that people are looking at you. They see a well dressed, handsome. You're like I said, 6'18" guy.
oh wow,
Representing yourself well. And does anyone ever come up to you and ask what it is you do?
I get that a lot. I you know, People usually assume that I'm an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they hear me talk, it's like, okay, so are you an actor, a voiceover? Is you like, what is it that you do? And when they hear opera singer, it's like, okay, we definitely weren't expecting that. Um, But yeah, I mean, it's I get those questions all the time, just based off of appearance. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it, the assumption that I do something different from everyone else is usually made, and yeah, I mean, most of the time they're right because I'm an opera singer, and there are not a lot of opera singers that are in the space at that particular time.
Right.
Yeah,
It's not like I mean, there are many of us, but it's not like the
yeah,
the airport is always filled with a number of,
right, right,
opera singers
absolutely,
at any given
right,
point.
right,
So let me, we talk about, you know, this business and being, as I said before, a black opera singer. Tell me about some of the discrimination you felt that you've faced in your career thus far.
wow, man. So walking into a space and you know, like, where's your badge? And uh, yeah, and I'm the only one that's asked that question, and I just so
Mm-hmm.
happen to be the only one that's black in the group, or at least the only black person I've seen that I can see in front of me and behind me, or being called, or people. We talked about this last week with Long Beach Opera. They had and I want to shout them out, Darrell Akon. Um, they had a great conversation on equity and diversity in
Mm-hmm.
classical music. And the question was asked, a similar question, and I talked about how people wanting to come up and just touch my hair or just touch me, or certain things they expect of me, and I'm like, one, it's not, I'm not a pet. This is not a petting zoo. I
Mm-hmm.
have not asked or tried to do the same to you, so I would appreciate the same courtesy or respect that I give you, or being somewhere and someone saying, after performing brilliantly and getting great reviews, I bet you sing a great Old Man River, or you know, they all people always wanting to keep us in certain roles that
Mm-hmm.
they associate with, that's like, that's your place, that's where you belong, you stay there, you sing that. And while I had to mention that, um, while I do love that music, you have to be really, really aware of yourself, and aware of what is going on outside of you as well, to not become someone that is actually that that can get to the point where you are resentful of certain types of music. Because if with those questions, always, someone always comparing me, oh, Simon Estes or Paul Robeson. I hear
Mm-hmm.
you, I think of Paul Robeson.
Mm-hmm.
If I did not appreciate myself or respect my blackness, or the fact that these were my predecessors, like, that's something I could resent, because I want to be respected for the other music that I sing. And I would never or hearing the when you go to an audition, you want to sing, I got plenty of nothing, or you want to sing something from Porgy, and it's like, no, we want to hear something serious. And it's like, like, were they not serious when they got on stage and performed that music? So just those things that sometimes remind you, not that I ever
Mm-hmm.
forget, but people want to remind you that this is how we see you. Unfortunately, it
Mm-hmm.
hasn't happened a lot, because I'm also not from a passive family. So
Mm-hmm.
meaning that you disrespect me enough,
You're gonna get
you
called
go,
out, right?
not just called out, you're gonna get dealt with. Um,
Don't hurt nobody.
hey man, that's that boxing training growing up. But no, man, my name literally means peace. So I'm really laid back, really chill guy. But
Mm-hmm.
every once in a while, people have try as they say, tried it.
Try
Right?
you.
Yeah,
Right. They try you.
right. And I
Right.
mean, it's happened.
Hey, Dr. Jolie.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
happened.
Well,
So
let's talk about that role that you feel that you were built to sing that you have not yet sung. what is that? What is the thing you want to sing? Where it's, I mean, if you can say, okay, I want to be opening night of the Metropolitan or one of these major opera houses. I want to be opening night where my face is plastered over the poster around town, singing this role, starring in what is it?
And Don Carlo, King Philip. So obviously, when Morris retires, then I'll I'll take the stage. But that's it right there. That's the role that I'm looking forward to. And some of the Russian rep, man, like Onegin,
Yeah.
Boris Godunov. But
Oh,
but
yeah.
King Philip at the Met, that would be. I mean, that would be it for me, man.
Well, who was your favorite King Philip to date? Not including Morris.
All right, not include Morris. I mean, I haven't thought of anybody else, man. The big brother, that's all I see. No, wow, man. Ferruccio Foligneto, I have to.
Yeah, love
I
him.
have to stick. I have to stick with him, man. Tried and true.
He's the truth, isn't
tried
he?
and true, man. Like, bruh. And so the crazy thing is, the three of us were in the L.A. Opera's production of Don Carlo in fall of 2018. Fall of 2018.
Who, you Morris and Ferruccio?
Yes, I was singing
That is
the
some
monk.
firepower right there.
Morris singing Inquisitor, and Ferruccio singing, King Philip, and it was just heaven for me, man. And
I'm sure it was like fire, right?
And the articles, the reviews spoke well of the bass power that was there, man. But that was heaven for me to be on the, be in a production. It's always great when I get to be in a production with somebody like Morris who, imparted so much into my life. And then one of the living legends that I always dreamt of meeting. My first time meeting him, we're in a production together. So, it was an amazing experience for me.
Yeah, wow. I'm getting so many wonderful comments here. Let's see. Stephen Jones says, what time is YPWW? Danielle Defoe, she wrote something in Italian. She wrote something in Italian earlier. She said the idea that somebody would try to touch your hair is absolutely beyond her. And she talks about Nathan Carter's and Ernie Saunders, rest in peace.
Oh, Ernie Saunders. One of the great. So Ernie Saunders, just for people that don't know, he was a great countertenor. And Morgan State University Choir, we had a tradition of Dr. Carter every year. I mean, whenever a countertenor was leaving, he found there was another countertenor coming in. So he always had countertenors, man. And I'm not I don't know how he found it.
That's the school of countertenors.
Ernie Saunders, Kenneth Austin, Cortez Mitchell, who's so Kenneth Austin went on to sing with Three More Tenors on Broadway. Cortez Mitchell went on to sing with Chanticleer, and is still singing with Chanticleer. Thomas Allen,
singing with Ricky Dillard. He killed. Thomas Allen killed Doxology and just let there be peace on earth.
I mean, just
killed
look these cats
up.
And then we had Patrick Daly,
Patrick
who
Daly,
was after
I know.
me, yeah. So there was always this great history of countertenors at Morgan State University in the choir. So I grew up as far as in the profession, having an appreciation for that, and being able to sing some of those notes doesn't hurt. Some of them.
Let me ask you this: what was your sport? Because you mentioned sport. What was your sport?
I was a football guy. I played wide out receiver, as we call it, but wide out for people who refer to it that way. So basically, throw me the ball, I'm gonna jump. I would jump everyone, catch it, boom, bring it in, and I refuse to be slow. So I always trained to be fast. So I was Usain Bolt before Usain Bolt. I was Megatron before Megatron. Although Megatron, I didn't play college or professional. So Megatron is Megatron, but I was that 6'8", 6'18", as you say, receiver that was fast and could catch, man. And from DC playing on asphalt, we played on asphalt as kids, so you had to have moves. We call it breaking ankles or juking.
Oh yeah,
So that's something that we learned. You had to have moves because you didn't want to get hit and end up hitting your head on that asphalt, or that concrete. So I had the pleasure of being able to move quickly. And I had an uncle that boxed, Uncle Richard, that boxed, or Cunningham as he's known in DC. He boxed with Sugar Ray Leonard, so he trained us.
Okay.
He trained some of us growing up. So
good pedigree.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Do you ever get onto the court anymore these days?
Man, I played summer league basketball a few years in high school, but I love football. So I always, wherever I am, I carry my cleats with me. If I'm going for a long period of time, so whatever summer festivals or whatever operas, whatever contracts I'm going to do, I always have a pair of cleats with me. And if I just so happen to forget them, hey,
you might go buy some.
I'm going to buy some. So I have a nice little collection of cleats as well. So not just dress shoes, but cleats, man. And then I actually have a brother who played at La Tech or Louisiana Tech. My younger brother, Benjamin Dickerson, a different name. I have a different father from them, but same mom as all my siblings. So Benjamin played receiver at Louisiana Tech or La Tech, and so sometimes he'll send me cleats. Like, bro, I got these cleats for you. Yeah, man. So they keep me connected, man.
Oh no,
yeah.
I was. Are you? Someone asked the question. I was going to ask you this. Are you a fan of any team coming from the DC area? Are you a Redskins fan?
Well, I stick with the home team, actually. So growing up, my mom's brother, I mentioned him. He was the drummer in DC. He was an amazing basketball player. So, in my grandmother's house is where he kept, the trophy or the mantle there was full of trophies from my uncle, basketball player in DC. Like I said, again, he was the drummer, Uncle Warren, Babe Rush, they called him. But he then went on to open up a shop. He's an entrepreneur. He had a shop. He had an auto accessory shop as well. And so he sold a lot of, auto accessories, emblems, rims, whatever it was to NFL players or athletes. So, people like Art Monk, Darryl Green, Fred Stokes.
That's my cousin.
Fred Stokes?
That's my cousin.
He would know my uncle because my uncle opened up a store in L.A. And when Fred was in L.A., he ran that store for my uncle. His Flood Motoring was the name of the store. So
Fred Stokes is my.
So we grew up with a lot of them coming around, and then Wilbur Marshall was really close with my stepdad. So I grew up with a lot of the Redskins around. So that was, of course.
Well, man. I mean that's okay if you're a Redskins fan. I mean, everybody knows my loyalties, and let me just state them again. I am a lifelong fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay.
I am not at any way embarrassed by that team. I love it with all my heart. And so, no.
I'm sorry about that. But nah, man. Look.
Someone asked the question. Let me answer one of these questions. Do you still hold the MEAC to heart since you attended Morgan?
The MEAC.
Leon Brown.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. The MEAC, yeah.
Absolutely.
Stephen Jones, don't do that, sir.
What does Stephen Jones talk about, man?
He put up the throw up emoji on my Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's a little bro right there, Stephen Jones, man. So he's finishing up at Morgan now. He's a tenor.
Okay. Ravens, oh gosh,
yeah, man. He's a drummer as well. Percussion is killing, man. That's family right there, man.
One of these days, we've been talking about it before. We want to try to do something. So for all of you out there watching, we want to try to do something. And I've been talking about it. Many of us have been talking about it, and we kind of gave them a little bit of sample that we kind of threw together. But one of these days, we want to do a concert where we can bring all of our talents, doing
Absolutely.
something in the beginning, that is classical, but then going to some secular stuff and then probably bring it home with some gospel.
Abs-
Because that's who we are,
right.
correct?
Absolutely. I mean, being true and loyal to our roots, and some of the great composers they composed, they played several instruments. So if they could do it,
Mm-hmm.
why can't we express our gifts?
I mean, many of the great, singers and musicians, you want to call them instrumentalists
Right,
of the
right.
past, they all played several
Yep.
instruments. Like a lot of people may not know this, but Sammy Davis Jr.
A
is, was an incredible
drummer.
drummer.
Yep.
He was a dancer and a singer and an actor,
Dances.
but he was
Yeah.
an incredible, and he started. Yes, OC, we're trying to do it maybe even in DC. Cayenne, you know exactly what we're talking about. Hello? Yes, Keebler, we may bring it to Cincinnati, but Sammy Davis was, Mel Torme played the guitar, and he also was an incredible drummer. And a lot of these guys were like so great in a lot of things. And some of the guys now, they have one instrument and they don't go into anything else. And so I grew up in the culture church, as I said before, and we played. They said you get in where you fit
Get
in,
in where you fit
and
in.
if you go there one day, somebody's not on the organ, you jump on there. Hello,
Yeah.
hey, did I lost you for a second, didn't I?
Yeah. Just a second, but I'm still here, brother.
Yeah. Well, I was saying, you know, we want to try to do this to kind of bridge the gap. A lot of people, they're like, they think it's such a long journey from classical music to other styles. And this concert would be a great thing. And just talk about, if you will, really quickly as we wrap it up, the concert we had in Chicago that Cayenne was so important in. And of course, she led us all in that concert. But it was so. Would you talk about that experience and how, if you enjoyed it, what it meant to you?
Not if I enjoyed it, how much I enjoyed it, man. Because it gave us an opportunity to be be comfortable being us in an environment where we are, just one. It gave us. Let me go back and say, because we're always comfortable in that environment, but it gave us an opportunity to be comfortable being all of us, to be completely
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, because we're usually expressing that one gift, that one side of us, that one talent that people know. And often
Mm-hmm.
the what they call the hidden treasures or the hidden talents, they're not as hidden. It's just the fact that we don't necessarily get the opportunity to express it in
Mm-hmm.
that environment. I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
rightfully so, because we're there as opera singers to perform on an opera contract or to perform an opera. But what you did at Lyric, to ask us to not just be the opera singers that we were trained to be, but to also go back to what we grew up as well. Showing that aspect of us, and the versatility. That was something that I was proud and honored to one, to say yes, but to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
To know that you know I'm speaking to my grandparents now. To
Mm-hmm.
know that I'm speaking
Exactly.
to all of the gospel singers in the family that love what I do now, um,
Mm-hmm.
but also like now I'm speaking to you personally. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just an opportunity for us to say that you know this is this is more or all of who we are, not just the one thing, but we are, we're well-rounded, versatile, and as artists, and
Mm-hmm.
a moment to minister, because it became ministry at that point. And I always try to take that into classical music, and I'm sure that's something not I'm sure, but I know that's something that you do. Being someone who's been able to be there and witness you performing. It's always from the heart, from the soul. It's always with a purpose, not just to be on stage, just to sing the notes, but to actually connect with the music, to communicate something. And that's the tradition of what we do, is as gospel singers or growing up in church. That's the tradition of how it's done. So that's something that I appreciated about that opportunity. And yes, I hope to be able to take it to the Kennedy Center, to DC, the Kennedy Center, to all over
Anywhere.
Cincinnati. Yeah, as someone said, Cincinnati, anywhere. To
Yeah.
be able to show that one of the great things about us, in this country, about African Americans in general, just the versatility that we have in music. I can never be ashamed of it. Always proud of it.
Exactly, because those are the things that really inspired us, and this idea of going back to your roots, I think, is always very, very good. And I think people appreciate it, knowing your influences, knowing the things that kind of drove you, and the people that that you looked up to say, okay, this is what helped to shape my musical education. So. I always, as much as I try to do it, and I'm very much into crowd and audience expansion and building. So,
Absolutely.
When I'm in Chicago or Houston or hopefully DC, I'm serious. I'm trying to do this concert, and I'm trying.
And I
This
see
is the
Alice
thing.
about to say, we're in DC. We're here in DC waiting.
Look, the thing is, though, here's the problem, Alan. Okay,
All right.
the problem is like all these guys, Solomon and Morris, they cost too much money. So to have us all on the same stage,
First of
I'm
all,
cheap.
I can't let you
Okay,
lie like that. I can't
I'm
let you lie like
cheap,
that. I can't let you
but
lie, bruh. We're usually, like I say all the time, man. We have to wait for your check to cash before we can. Your checks come out on the day of. Our checks are post dated because we're waiting for yours to clear so that we can actually get some money. It's like
pass the plate and
they
raise the
pay you your
offering.
fee. They pay you your fee. They tip us. I'm like, come on, yo, this cat, man. That's what you get for singing high, man. So I don't know. Maybe
Oh
I
my
sing
gosh.
counter tenor, a few times and get that LB money, man.
I tell
Uh,
people always aim higher. Aim higher,
right.
Aim higher. No.
Yeah, you always tell the bassist, aim higher so we can sing like you. So, that's the LB way. And in the words of LB, I see this cat got jokes, so you got jokes. So,
Right.
you're a comedian. Look
Exactly.
at your boy.
Exactly. That's what I say,
Right.
right?
Oh, this cat got
Oh
jokes.
my gosh. Oh man. This has been great, Solomon, man. Just sitting down for a little bit over an hour with you and just,
Absolutely, brother.
chopping it up as we say it.
Yeah, man.
And you know how proud I am of your
I
success and
appreciate you,
all the
brother.
places that you're singing all over the world, and all the reviews, and I got a chance to see you when you were just at Lyric Opera of Chicago, and you really, really put it down. And that's just, it makes me proud. It makes me proud, and I don't have anything in it. I just like to see you succeed and excel
I
and be
appreciate
singled
it,
out
brother.
for
I
what you're
appreciate
doing. So always, always supporting you, and definitely want to continue to see you reach those heights that you want to reach and that you should reach. You know what I mean?
I appreciate you. But I just want to ask you, do me a favor. Whenever you get ready to come into the building, like send me a text first so I can get prepared, because I'm getting a little shine when I'm there, and then you come through and I was like, yo, who Solomon? Who? I'm like, come on, yo,
Solomon
this
is a
guy. Whenever
comedian.
I feel like I'm doing something right, well, see, that's just God keeping me humble. I always ask God, keep me humble, keep me humble. Whenever I think I'm doing something, like I'm in Germany, and I'm shining, I'm walking around, shining, and then I go into a restaurant, and there's pictures of you plastered all over the wall. I'm like, this cat, man. I'm like, all right, it's just a reminder, stay humble, because there's always a Larry Brownlee that's bigger than you. So, I appreciate God for keeping me humble. I'm a church kid at heart. I appreciate God for keeping me rooted and grounded, because, like I said, it's always a Larry Brownlee that's bigger than you, man.
Oh man, you're
LB will be calling. LB will be calling, man.
I can't stop laughing, but this is me. Anybody who knows me, I'm always laughing. I come from a family of laughers. So no, man. Oh man, like I said, continued blessings. The best. Hopefully, we'll get out there. Let me ask you this really quickly before we leave.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything that's on the books that COVID is not relaxing? I don't want to say that word, but do you have something that you're planning to get going in the future?
So yeah, I'll be with the Air Force Band in Washington D.C. Uh, Thank you to Tad Russo, who we're good friends. He works with the Air Force Band, so they invited me out for a performance for 4th of July performance. So I'll be with them. We're doing something here at Lyric, and just waiting to see what else is gonna
Right.
happen, or not be canceled. And I understand, people are a little apprehensive about proceeding on with their schedules. We have to, respect the fact that not everyone is in the same mind frame or state of being. But yeah, I mean, we're just
Really quick,
just waiting to see what else is gonna happen.
really quickly, Alan Savata says, "Where is this performance going to be? Is it going to be at the mall
No,
or on TV?"
it's actually moved to Andrews Air Force Base, and it will
There
be.
you go,
I
Alan.
believe it's televised. If not, at least on um, Air Force Band, United States Air Force Band's social media.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And where can people follow you? You have some new fans, and some people are writing in the comment section. Where can people follow you?
my name is spelt Soloman. I'm Solomon with an A, Solo Man. My mom knew something when she was naming me when she named me as a
Right.
kid. So I'm Solomon Howard on Facebook, at Solomon Howard on Instagram or IG, and yeah, that's where I am. LinkedIn. I mean, who checks LinkedIn?
Twitter, nothing.
I'm on Twitter. I try to get on social media. It's just my nature to kind of be low key, but yeah, I'm on social media, and like I said, Solomon Howard, Soloman. On Twitter, I'm sorry, it's How So Music. It's an
Hmm.
amalgamation of my name, just the reversed.
Are you really
The
going to use that
reverse.
long word like
I
that?
mean, it's a combination. It's a mash. It's a mashup.
Amalgamation? Oh my gosh.
It's a mashup. It's a mashup of my name. We homies, so I'm gonna say, yeah, it's just compound. We just smashed it together, but it's
Oh,
how so music. HOWSO music.
right. He
Yeah,
using a $5 word on, yeah, using those luxury words on Sunday night.
SAT brothers,
Uh,
man.
here's the last question I'm going to ask you, and then we'll tie it up. Are you one of those people that when you leave a message on your voice, like, "Hey, this is
Yeah.
Solomon Howard," you try to go like 3 notes deeper than your voice really should?
Hey, man.
You try to go deeper?
Hey, this is what I tell people. If I can hit the note, then it's not no deeper than what what
You're
I can
like,
actually do. I'm
"Hey, this is Solomon
it
Howard.
was it
Let
was
me,
it wasn't a struggle for me. It might have been a struggle for somebody else, but it wasn't a struggle for me to sing those notes, man. I have to
I
have
mean,
those notes in my face.
for the tenors were like, "Hey, hello, this is Larry. Leave the," you
Right.
like,
And I'm like, yo, I'm relaxed, man. Yo, the Solomon Howard lead a message, baby. Well,
you know good and well that. I'm like, does he have laryngitis? I mean, why is he
nah,
trying to?
man. Nah, see this cat. In the words of Larry Brown, you got jokes. This cat got jokes. Yo. Now it's just it's
Man,
testosterone and things have dropped. So I it's that manhood.
you
It's
know,
that manhood.
well, you know how it is. This is just the sit down with LB is just sitting down, hanging out with your boys, and this is how we keep it when we see each other, right?
Absolutely, brother.
That's the way we do
Absolutely,
it.
man.
So, my brother, one more time, thank you for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, and thanks for having your picture hanging downtown on this outside of the Lyric Opera. Like I said, man, always a reminder, man. Stay humble.
Who's the
Sit
comedian?
down or be humble. Sit down or be
My
humble.
bass is back. My bass is over there. Kevin Miller, yeah, Mr. Angles, man. No,
Oh, that's
but
Kevin Miller. I
look,
thought it was Kavina Milan. Oh, it's Kevin Miller.
yeah,
Oh, okay. That's family right there. We went to we were at the Washington Opera together. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kevin.
Kevin.
Kevin, that's my boy right there. Even though I'm not gonna even say anything, I'm like, do you own shirts? But anyway, let's just. I'm like, Kevin, what? No, okay,
Next
we're
time you
getting out.
see
We're
Kevin, please tell him to like how he usually walks into a room. Like, Kevin, why are you walking like that? Yo, you don't have to do all of that. Kevin, you don't have to
Kevin's
do all of
always
that.
advertising.
He's
I'm like,
always
why is
advertising.
Kevin advertising? But anyway, look,
Kevin wears his pumps
let's.
and prints. This cat. Hey yo, Steve. Hey you. That's how they say it in Baltimore. Steve Jones is from Steve Jones Jr. I should say. He's from Baltimore. So hey
Yeah,
you. That's how they say it there.
yeah. Well, thank you, all my people. Thank you, Ingrid. Oh, I have somebody from Sweden on here,
Angry.
and people like, she's from Sweden, and we got so
Absolutely.
many people here. Thank you, all of you, for coming in and joining us on the Sit Down with LB. Me and my boy Solomon. Next week, I will be joined by the wonderful Janai Brugger on the Sit Down with LB. Thank you for tuning in. Happy Father's Day again. Have a wonderful evening.
Happy
Take
Father's
care.
Day.